Welcome back. This is still Good Morning Kenya. This is Women at the Forefront, all about financial literacy today. And with us in studio, we have Sheila Mboga, who is a financial literacy advocate and educator. Once again, the hashtag is Good Morning Kenya. At KBC Channel 1 is our official station handle on Twitter and all other social platforms. We welcome your feedback. There's Gibson Anasema, absolutely loving this discussion. Very insightful topic. I am benefiting a lot, and that is why we are having this discussion. So let's get back and move on. And I want to talk a bit about money habits. Our individual habits that we have that could either be doing us good or a disservice in relation with money. And I'd like for us to just start with, we're living in a time where we're seeing people benefiting a lot from family businesses. And you find a business was thriving, it was thriving when your parents were handling it, and then when it's handed over to the next generation, all of a sudden the business goes under. What are these money habits that could contribute to such a situation?
Thank you very much for such a great question. The first thing that leads to such a downward spiral when it comes to handing over businesses from family, it's one thing, they lack mentorship. So you find that a child has been given business, but they were not mentored through that business. The parents were not going with them to the business while they were growing up. So this child is given something, they're like, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to start. So I think that is one key thing that leads to the downward spiral of most family businesses. And then other habits is like we do not learn how to multiply money in business. You know, we've learned about investing for our own selves, but you also need to learn how to multiply the money in your business. Getting profit in business doesn't mean that you have a party the following day. You need to invest that money somewhere so that whenever you see that business is not working well, the returns from the investments will be able to cater for the gap that is being seen in the business. Then another thing is the basic business financial skills like bookkeeping. You find that your parents could have been so keen and detailed when it came to bookkeeping, but this child does not take that seriously. You might think that a balance sheet is just a simple sheet, but it's very important because it's able to capture certain aspects of the business. You are able to know, okay, we are spending, so our expenses are extremely high while our income is lower. What is happening? So you need to get to teach your kids the balance sheet as early as possible, especially if you're looking to hand them over a business. And the other thing is most people, they do not consider taking their customers seriously when the business is handed over to them. Remember, customer loyalty is very key to business growth. Now, if, for example, your parents were so good with their customers, they were taking care of them properly, and then you come, you're given the business, you're like, the customers will still come. You need to keep on building that loyalty. Remember, a satisfied customer is a walking advertisement, more than the advert that you will do like a billboard or something. So I tend to find most of the kids that are handed over the business, they tend to forget about customer loyalty. They're not doing activities that will keep the customer glued. And finally, it's sometimes they don't stay at par with market trends. Now, if your parent was having a business in the 90s, the business could still be okay in this year, but you need to adjust it. There are things you need to change. For example, in the 90s, not everyone was on Facebook. Now, if your parents had a shop at that time and they've handed it over to you, you need to move to technology. They think like, okay, it's business. You need to have... We're
excited to be doing this together.
Exactly. So you think like, we don't need to describe what is my role in case of if anything happens to my partner, what will I do? How will we take this forward? So it's important to have an agreement first. Then the second thing you need to have in a business partnership is honesty and integrity. I've seen in most business partnerships, you find one partner is making a key decision for the business without the awareness of the other person. Now you find that it might work for the short term, but in the long term, it's going to build a gap. The person will be asking himself, how many other business decisions is this person making without me me knowing, that immediately brings in mistrust.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that people need to also focus on is, aside from honesty and openness, is now you need to both have a united vision. We don't start a business just because we want to fulfill our desires now, but we also need to ask ourselves, in 5 years' time, we are seeing this business grow. What is our vision for the business? Are we going to make it maybe a public limited company? How are we going to do things? And the final thing is, it's important for business partners to also acquire financial education. You might find maybe you're so good at IT, and maybe I'm good at sales. Now we are starting a business, we'll create products, but we don't know how to handle money, we have no idea. Then in such an instance, at least get the basic education. Yes, you can hire a financial consultant, but you still need to have some basic, know how the system runs, so that whenever something is happening, you're not left in the dark. You will be knowing, okay, this is how it goes, this is what I should expect. So it's very important for business partners to at least acquire financial education for themselves, even if it's not their line of business.
Now, looking at your experience interacting with the different people that you have in this journey of financial literacy, and just sharing the education that you have, comparing men and women, who seek out financial literacy more? Do we have men seeking out financial literacy more than women, or women are seeking out this education more than men?
I would say women are seeking out more education than men, but I've also seen a growing trend in men becoming vulnerable when it comes to finances. And this is something I applaud men for, because they're now opening up. We've grown up in a society where a man should not say anything. If they are going through something, they should keep quiet. But back to your questions, women are more information seeking. They are more
intentionally so, not because I experienced this and then.
No, they are intentional, and they are, they are into, this happened to me, I don't want it to happen to my next generation. So you find that many women will sign up for financial education classes, they will attend investment sessions, they will attend even debt management session. Now, the good side of it is that, if a woman comes from a household, you're guaranteed this household has at least 3 to 4 or 4 people, and there is at least one man in that household. Now, this woman is coming back to impact them, because it's also known that women are the ones who greatly manage the household finances. So if the woman is financially smart or literate, it's going to have a spillover effect to the whole household. So you'll find, even if the man is not intentionally seeking financial education, the woman is doing it, and there's this spillover effect that is now going to affect the whole household income. Now, when it comes to men, as I mentioned, they are becoming vulnerable day by day, which is something we are really encouraging, and they're also seeking more information about financial matters, more so in matters of investments and debt management, because that is what really affects them largely.
All right. Now, I want to go through a list of habits that most people have, and maybe you can tell us if it's a red flag, that means it's bad. If it's a green flag, that means it's good. And white flag, I don't know if it's borderline, could be good. It's a double-edged sword. So you will tell us, and you can explain if need be. Now, I want to start with that aspect of the man and woman, especially those who live together. And this is about impulse buying of home equipment and just investing in the home.
Is it
impulse buying home appliances?
I would say that is white flag,
borderline.
Borderline, because for example, imagine you're buying, let's say, a washing machine because you want to make work at home more efficient. You want to have more time, free time in your household. So you are like, instead of us having to wash clothes or having to call someone to do that, why not invest in a washing machine? Now, buying home appliances it's okay, it's good, because it's going to help you and it's going to give value to the family. However, the problem is impulse buying. Why would you buy 2 washing machines and yet you need one? Now that one becomes, when you're doing it like and it's not even in your budget, you're just buying it because you saw it on offer, and then that becomes like somehow a red flag.
So borderline.
Yeah, it's a borderline.
White flag. It could be good, it could be bad, depending on your situation.
Yes, and I would also add that, impulse buying, it has a very thin line, because it's something that you feel you want at that time, but it's not necessarily what you need. So you've gone to a shop, you've seen a 50% discount, and you're like, oh, okay, I would need this. But when you look at your needs, you'd really need that thing maybe 1 year down the line.
Yes.
But since it's at 50% discount, you feel like it's an immediate, So that is where we can say impulse buying is in between.
All right.
Yes.
So white flag, double-edged sword, to each their own. All right. Now, number 2, and this I find to be very borderline personally, given the experiences I've had with people, and this is living below your means.
That is a red...
Is it a red flag? Is it a green flag? Ama iko hapo katikati, because it has its advantages and its disadvantages from your experience.
That's a red flag. You need to live within your means, not below your means. Living below your means, it means you are being stingy to even yourself, You're being so stingy that you're earning money to spend, but you're not spending it. You're earning money to make your life more better and comfortable, but you're not doing that. So why is it you are earning money? So I wouldn't recommend people to live below their means. I would say live within your means. And this is where we say be frugal. Live within a financial capacity or lifestyle that you can afford, even when other major changes happen in your life. So for me, that is a red flag.
All right.
Yes.
Now, it's a red flag. Okay. What about paying bills early?
That is a green flag, because when you pay your bills early, first thing, you have the peace of mind. You're not rushing the same way someone pays at the last minute. And then we know we have so many things going on in our lives, and you are likely to forget to pay certain bills on time. So when you pay it early, you are able to have that peace of mind and be able to think about other things, including your finances, in a more better way. Now, when you also pay your bills early, sometimes you might get a discount. You never know, because the company might decide to just appreciate you for being on doing things earlier than usual. Now, the other side of it being a green flag, it allows you to have money, not abundance, but your money will have more freedom, because you'll not be having bills running after you. You've already cleared them up. Now you can think of doing other things because you've handled it early.
And what if you find yourself, you have paid like 6 months in advance rent, but then you get an emergency that needs a lump sum amount of money, but you have already committed that money elsewhere, and we're living in a time where once paid cannot be refunded.
I totally understand that, and this is where the emergency fund aspect comes into play.
Smart.
Because you see, if you've paid your rent for 6 months, you now have a 6-month allowance to build an emergency fund. You will not be stressing, oh, my rent. Now, what is an emergency fund? Because someone could be watching us and wondering, what is this? An emergency fund is a fund that you set aside that can cater for your expenses for 3 to 6 months. And if you have the financial capacity, you can make it to 1 year. Now, this emergency fund, you need to also put it in a place you can easily access. I've seen quite a number of people, they put an emergency fund in a savings account that you are only allowed to withdraw after 3 years. Now imagine before the 3 years you get an emergency that needs that money. How will you access it? That is why we highly encourage people to put it in a place where it's easily accessible. And someone would be asking, my budget is so tight, like my budget takes all the money that I earn. How can I create an emergency fund? This is where we encourage people to start monetizing their gifts, their skills. You're good at something. Don't just do it for free. Monetize it, and then that money, put it in your emergency fund. Another thing, we all have so many things in our houses that we don't use. Why not declutter at a fee and then pull that money together to create your emergency fund. And finally, you can as well create one by including it in your budget. So every month, maybe you're setting aside 500 bob or 1,000 every month, so saying that this is for my emergency fund.
All right.
Yes.
That's a good idea, because we always say if it's not in my budget, I can't accommodate it. But if you accommodate it in your budget, then there'll always be room for it.
Yes.
Now, lastly, automating some of these bills. Pesa ikiingia account inajua hii nafaa kurusha kwa hii, I need to do that. Is this a green flag or red flag, or it could be a double-edged sword?
I would say it's a double green flag, because money is very emotional. I'll give you an example. If right now I give you 1,000 bob, immediately your mind says you have more expenses than that 1,000 bob.
Yes.
You start feeling like that money is not even enough. Now, when you automate money, if I give you the 1,000 through your bank account, and maybe you've set a goal of saving 200 for every 1,000 bob, you find that you'll get 800 in cash. Already the 200 has been deducted. Now, you'll not start thinking that your expenses are beyond 1,000. You'll start thinking your expenses around the 800 and finding ways to supplement if it's more. The expenses are more. So that is where automation is a green flag. We highly encourage people to do it. As well, automation allows you to have money discipline. Trust me, building money discipline is not easy. As I said, money is very emotional, and for some reason, when we have money in our hands, that's when your eyes even open more. You see a nice shoe, and you've been passing that place for a month, but since you didn't have money, yeah, it calls you by name, you know. So automation helps you build your financial discipline. You are able to achieve your goals through automation as compared to when you are handling money in cash.
All right.
Yes.
Now, as we bring this conversation to a close, you know, so many people are watching us today, and we have all had our individual experiences with money. Just before the break, we were talking of how, you know, growing up, your parents always made sure that whether they are broke or not, you would never find out. But when you are in that space as a parent or as a grown-up, you're like, how did my parents have a handle over their life?
Yeah.
So we are 7 kids, we all went to school, we never lacked. So looking at those people that might be in that situation, figuring out their finances, maybe your partner is a spender, you are a saver, najua kuna mtu hapa ameinua mkono, I'm not looking at them. And you have in a situation with someone who's an opposite of you when it comes to finances, your advice to this category of people, there's your camera, talk to them directly.
Now, if you're a saver and for example, your partner is a spender, it's good to see each other as a complement. We cannot both be savers. Very rare for both to be savers or both to be spenders. Now, this saver person will help the spender not to overspend, and this spender person will help the saver not to oversave, you know, to be so stingy with themselves. So they complement each other, they help each other achieve financial goals. So I would say this starts with you discussing about what is your money language. Are you a saver? Are you a spender? Then once you've discussed that, then you can tell, okay, since I'm a money saver, you are going to handle the savings of in our family. Yeah. Since you are the spender, you're going to handle the purchases in our family. Now, when you define roles like that, it becomes very easy. The saver doesn't feel like, oh, this one has overdone this, or the spender doesn't feel like, oh, this one is making our life harder.